Hi, it's Kenny again. This is just a short video where I'm not even going to play any piano or teach any piano. I want to discuss something very important actually. I've been meaning to make this video. It's about injuries that you can possibly get playing the piano. People think of athletes and stuff, football players, as getting injuries, but they often don't think about musicians. But musicians are very prone to injuries as well. In fact, what inspired me to make this video was last weekend while playing at the tea party at on the big grand piano. I kind of strained my little finger. This one right here, this finger. It's fine. I just haven't played all week because I wanted to give it a rest. It was kind of strained because I was overplaying it, trying to play some ragtime a little too quick, maybe, or just maybe a little too hard, and I strained it. But I got thinking about what kind of injuries do pianists and other musicians get? And it's quite common. Now, that's one of them, fingers, just straining it a little too hard or stretching it too far, all right? And usually, that kind of injury, this thing, I just didn't play all week, you just give it a break and it'll take care of itself usually, all right? But that's not the most important ones. Much more serious ones, like carpal tunnel, for example, is very common with pianists, all right? That's in your wrist, and it can be very uncomfortable and very difficult to even try to play when you have that. And I had it for a long time, years ago, but I had it for a couple of years, and for the most part, I was wearing a wrist brace, and it's just not nice. You can still play, but it's not good. And it ended up going away. Luckily, some people, these injuries just keep being sustained. Wrist and finger things are very common with pianists. All right? Other things, like the back and the neck can get very sore. All right? All right? Because you're sitting unsupported on a piano bench for many hours at a time sometimes. So that can be another big problem for piano players. All right? But for example, I used to play for a ballet school, and I would be sometimes playing 6, 7 hours a day when there, and your back can get very uncomfortable, but they were very good. The instructions there said, no problem. I asked them, can I just use a chair with a back on it? And that's just one way out. It's a lot more relaxing, and it takes away from the back strain. All right, it doesn't look as good as being on a classic piano bench, but there it is, right? It's good for your health in the long run. For example, I give a really funny story. There's a very famous pianist named Glenn Gould, very famous Canadian pianist, and he would only play on one chair. He took it everywhere he went. That was his chair. He wouldn't play on anything else. And even in his recordings, this thing would sometimes you could hear it because it would squeak. It's kind of funny. Right in the middle of these recordings, you'll hear this squeaking noise, and that's Glenn Gould's chair. All right, anyway, that is one of the big problems with pianists, all right, is having back problems. Now, there's all kinds of other problems that occur while playing an instrument, all right. For example, guitar players, their wrist problems are very bad too. They get very bad wrist problems. Carpal tunnel is very common too, and they have to stretch their fingers quite a lot, actually, all right. And I remember many years ago, I had the pleasure of having a couple beers with this very famous guitar player named Jay Giles. And it was kind of a sad talk with him because he was telling me that he was not able to play at that time because of his wrists. He just could not play his guitar, which is a real shame. Another instrumentalist that has problems, right, is Phil Collins, a very, very famous drummer from Genesis and his solo career, and his wrist problems are so bad he just cannot play anymore. He's just basically retired from playing. It's really quite sad, all right? And just recently, I just saw in the news, Steve Tyler, he's the vocalist from Aerosmith, and he had to cancel a part of a tour because he hurt his vocal cords. He sings very strong, very high, and that's a very, very common thing. Vocalists probably have some of the most problems of all instrumentalists because the voice is a very fragile thing. Even a cold can get you, right? So, yeah, vocalists definitely have big problems. That's why all opera stars have these understudies, just in case they're not able to perform. They got someone else there ready just to jump in. And the last injury I'd like to talk about is probably, it's got nothing to do with any instrument in particular, but it's hearing loss. And this is most common for rock musicians. These guys will be standing right in front of these huge, loud speakers, all right? And over time, yes, it affects the ear. You can get tinnitus, or you can actually almost lose your hearing. So I'm not too much affected by such things because I play a grand piano and I don't mic it, so it's not that loud. But that is a very common problem too. So all I'm trying to say is, if you feel yourself getting a little bit sore or achy or something playing, just stop for a while. Take a rest, all right? And if you do hurt yourself, just take it very simple. Most of these problems will go away, although there are some serious ones that do involve surgery in the long run. But just take it easy, and if it starts to hurt, just stop doing what you're doing. Sit back, think, maybe is there a better way? Maybe I could sit more comfortably this way, or maybe my finger positions are a little bit off. Maybe you'll figure something else out about it. All right, but just use common sense. If it starts hurting, stop it. All right, that was just a short video, and I'll get back into lessons next week. Thank you.